So now that you've had a very brief introduction to radians, we're going to now bring it back to the unit circle and use our new knowledge of radians to kind of review the unit circle and perhaps get some practice with memorizing the values. So we're going to start with degrees, and I encourage you to use 4 different colors here. You can either keep my colors or use your own. So starting with the right-hand side here, right, that's where our 0 degrees is, and we go in a counterclockwise direction, which means 90 degrees will be at the top of the unit circle, 180 degrees will be at the left of the unit circle, 270 degrees will be at the bottom, and then if we complete this rotation, we would end up with 360 degrees at the same exact location as our 0 degrees. Now, radians, you've had just a little bit of practice, and I emphasize a little bit. It's probably still not perfect, and that's okay. Again, if we start at the same position with 0 radians, and then we move up to the 90-degree location, that would be pi halves radians. We keep going counterclockwise. We'll have pi radians in the same location as 180 degrees, 3 pi halves, right? And then all the way back to our start would be a full rotation or 2 pi radians. So you're going to be filling in those radians values as well. I used blue here. Now the other 2 values you need are the associated cosine and sine values. Remember, this is going to kind of help us build our shortcuts towards graphing later. So my cosine values are, of course, my x values of the coordinate points, and the sine values are going to be the y coordinates. I use values and coordinates interchangeably here. We're talking about those coordinate points, right, and the x and the y values that go with them. And now remember, we don't have to memorize 20 different coordinates. They use the same numbers over and over again, just in kind of different combinations and patterns. And if you're thinking about this as a coordinate plane, you know, for instance, that in the first quadrant, both the x and the y values are positive. So we'll have 2 positive numbers. Whereas in the second quadrant, we'll have a negative x value and a positive y value. So again, maybe one less thing to think about if you just focus on where you're located. In the second quadrant, make sure I got my colors, we're going to have 2 negative coordinate points, negative x value and a negative y value. And then in the fourth quadrant, we'll have a positive x coordinate and a negative y coordinate. So again, that's maybe one less thing to think about if I'm just focusing on what's the pattern of these values here. So I'm just going to pick a couple of random values and let you fill in the rest. So at this 45-degree reference angle, I know that both x and y are equal to root 2 over 2, positive root 2 over 2. So I'm going to put that in there. Over here at 120 degrees, my x coordinate is a negative 1/2. My y coordinate is a positive root 3 over 2. And so kind of going along those lines, right, we have maybe -1, 0, and again, so when you're all done with this, you'll have all of your degrees, radians, and coordinate points, your cosine and sine values labeled using 4 different colors. And again, we're using those colors to start to pick out those individual pieces as we build these relationships here. So keep going with this. Obviously, you can check with my answer key or use any of those answer keys that are available on the internet. So try it out.